Alright, welcome back. So the gearbox is in the car. It was all put back together. Went through the motions of starting the car. The battery was great. Still had flashing things on the thing, so I reset it with a laptop. No faults found. Started the engine up again, and you can hit. Well, before when you put the ignition on, you could hear the little pump, the mechanical pump. The motor inside the mechatronic unit whirring constantly, even with the ignition off and the key out. So that to me spout alarm bells, because the pump, when you connect the battery and you reset everything on the mechatronic, it should build the motor goes and feeds the pump gets hydraulic pressure up to about 60 psi in the accumulator, and then it stops. So obviously, as in when the pressure gets used by the selectors going in and out, as it changes its own gears, then the motor fires in again and tops it back up again, sort of thing. That's how the hydraulic system works, as far as I know. But so it was saying, I went into the VCDS on my laptop whilst the motor was running, and I looked at the PSI in the accumulator, and it was like 0.10, so 0.10 pounds, so not good. So I've had I've had the mechatronic unit in and out the car 4 times, because I took the pump apart, had a look at the pump, made sure I had the seals in the right way around, or whether I had the little plates that go either side of the 2 mesh gears, which is actually the pump. There's nothing online about it, you see. So I did it another configuration, hence why it's been in that 4 times. Still no pressure, still every time no pressure. So I have gone a little bit further with it, and I have purchased a new pump. This is brand spanking new. It is a VW AG part. I've not taken that apart because it's just how it is, so I'm waiting to put that back in. But the story so far is, I've obviously got this out again. You have to drain the gearbox oil, and then you have to drain the hydraulic oil, which we've done, and it's in the correct bottles down there again. So 4 times having done that. Where was I going with that? I haven't got my bloody hat on. Shit, fuck's sake. Hence why I'm working actually in the shade here. But yeah, so I thought I'd just give, because the whole mechatronic unit works on pressure. You only need one seal or gasket not to be seated properly or something like that. I've done that. I've been through it 4 times and I've purged it. The second time I did it, I put all the mechatronic unit back into the gearbox, plumbed it all back in, all the air filter, battery back in, and I realised that I hadn't purged the oil, the hydraulic oil, by pulling these in and out. So you need to do that every time you put new hydraulic fluid in it. So this time up, I thought I'd just whip this cover off, which is the cover for the actual mechatronic electronics there. And I noticed that some of there was oil in here. There should not be any oil in this area, hence the big fat seal, because this is the gearbox side where all the oil is. So I noticed a huge puddle of oil in there, and this is all submerged in like a gel. It's like a gelatine that never goes off. It literally stays in jelly form. And I noticed a couple of them cables are bent over. Now whether I did that on the first attempt or I don't know. Anyway, I've had my camera. This is a little USB 150 times zoom camera with little LED lights in there. Look, I had that on there, and that was a complete and utter mess, and there was actually a huge air bubble underneath there, and the oil was inside it along those copper threads. So I've managed to somehow, with my little hook and my camera, literally microscopically dabbed out the oil. I've managed to get the gelatine back in there, straighten those traces up. Some of them were touching, some of them weren't touching. So yeah, that's all as it was, in as it should be now. So all I've got to do now, see, there's another air bubble there, that nothing to do with me, but this air bubble was literally halfway along from that edge to there, all air bubble. So obviously oil's gotten in, and I guess it can conduct electricity of sorts, hence why I think that the motor was going permanently. So anyway, that's all cleaned out now, all reset as it should be, or as best as I can get it. I've just put this seal back in, so now I'm going to put this cover back on after having cleaned it all off. Now I need to do these 8 bolts back up nice and snug. There they are, and hopefully no flipping oil gets in there. I think I'm gonna have to watch my video back where I took this all apart, because I'm sure there was oil in it the first time. Piss off, fly. May 2012. Okay, so yeah, stick around, because I will be following this to its conclusion. I got a horrible feeling that I have done something in there and balls that up. I'm hoping that I haven't. I am now going to put the cover back on, reverse it, and take that sump off there and change the pump itself, just to make sure that I haven't ballsed anything up in there, because I have that brand new one to go straight in, and we'll go from there. So come and get yourself a brew and stay tuned. Okay, so there is the old pump, and it is quite stiff to turn, in all fairness, and there is a new pump which is really easy to turn. So whether the motor was straining and it was having trouble, obviously if it's straining, it's a lower RPM than what it should be, therefore it might have not been pumping fast enough as is. Anyway, so that's the new one in, there's the old one out. I've gone round it all, checked it all out, made sure everything's done up tight, giving it another clean, make sure everything's torqued up, which it is. There's no cracking on the accumulator housing at all, because that was my initial thought. Change this housing, sorry, take this off, put the new adapter on there and the new can, new accumulator, and go from there. But as there was technically nothing wrong with this to start with. It was me probably that fannied around with it that fucked it up, because I don't know what I was doing, but I do now, hopefully. So yeah, and put this cover back on, this sump, simple as that. And I know this off by heart, where all these bolts go, as you probably could guess by now. Jargon. Right, so I'm going to do all these back up and then get under the car, offer this in, measure those pistons 25mm out, make sure they're all in line, make sure the gearbox selectors are all in neutral in the center position, offer this up, do the 6 bolts up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6, do those all up, reconnect everything, put that back in, speed sensor, put that back in, and go from there, really. So please make this work. Oh god, otherwise it's a new control, the electronics, which then need reprogramming because it's got a different code to what's on the car. Oh, it's just more expensive and I can't afford anything. So I really hope now that this is fixed and we can move forward and drive the flipping car again. Wish me luck, guys. Here we are. So we just now put a litre back in there, so that's all good. That can now come out. I can put in the plug, like so. I'll do that up in a minute and then it's do the 4 plungers and then these 2 plungers, and then yeah, we're ready to go. It's taken that long. I even have greenery growing underneath the car. Never mind. Well, Caroline's gone out on a test drive, so just waiting on her return. It's still a bit jerky. I may have not got the shimming right in the gearbox, but I thought I had. The right amount of free play on the little meter on both clutch plates. It may be that the mechatronic unit, well, where those little wires might be touching on something and it's fucked. Anyway, I think she's coming around now. Go back a bit. Hello kids. Right, the following day, after all that nonsense yesterday with the jerky takeoff and all the rest of it, I took it to a friend's house who had all the proper VCDS, not the light version but the proper version. So oh, she's got this seat all the way forward again, that's better. And put that aircon off, it's bloody cold enough as it is. Right, so yes, plugged it in and went through all the settings. Well, tried to find my car, put the registration number in, no, didn't find it. I put in the VIN number and it said it was a 1.6 Blue Motion, which it isn't, quite clearly. So the 1.6 Blue Motion has a DQ500 gearbox in it. This is a DQ200. So I don't know what the hell was going on this. Technically, I couldn't really do anything. It said there was a test button. I thought, you know, do I press that or do I not? And curiosity got the better of me and I pressed it. And after about 5 seconds it come up with no, can't communicate with mech unit, but there was a load of clonking and clinking and pistons and all that lot going clonkety clonk, and I thought, oh crikey, what am I doing here? So I exited the program and quickly unplugged the thing and reversed out from his house. And it went into reverse beautifully, absolutely smoothly, no clonking, none of that nonsense going on. I went to go forward and it still did that lurching clunk, which yes the car drove, but that clunk will ruin the dual mass flywheel, because that's what's taking the hit as it clunks into gear. So I couldn't leave it like that. Yes, it drove, but it was quite scary if you're trying to come out from a junction. Sometimes, you know, there's a possibility that it could have stalled, which isn't good. So danger. So I drove home, and basically on the way home I thought to myself, right, there's your normal gears, but if you pop it left it goes into manual. Okay, so you can flick it back for down gears and just tap it forward for, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So when it was in normal gear, as you drove along, it was okay. Once you start that initial jerk, it was okay, and the car went along and it went up through the gears. Sometimes the D would flash with a spanner behind it on the middle of the dashboard, right there. And then you stop the car, turn it off, wait a few seconds, turn it on again, and the flashing D would disappear. So I'm sort of scratching my head at that. Anyway, so coming home, as you revved up, when it was in the automation gearbox, when you went up through the gears, if you give it any more than sedate driving, there was that horrible grinding, crunching noise where the gears weren't quite meshing between 3 and 4, which is really unnerving after all the effort I've put into it. So I thought, put it into manual. I slowed right down, and actually I stopped. So I put it into manual, it was in first, I thought, oh, a shuttle bus, see what happens. So I just floored it, and I went up through 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, not a bean, full torque all the way, come back down through the gears, and I drove the car home 8 miles in manual. Well, almost 8 miles, probably 7 miles, and the last mile I put it back into auto, and guess what? It's cured itself somehow. I don't know. My thoughts on all of that nonsense. When I first put the ignition on after putting all the car back together for the 5th time, I plugged my laptop in, cleared the 3 faults. One fault was P177, and the other 2 of them, and the other fault was P176. Now 177, what was that? Oh shit, sorry guys, I can't quite remember. A little bit foggy this morning after all that's gone on. 177, it was down to, basically, it wasn't low pressure or anything like that. It was down to gear changing speed, and the 176 was input shaft too fast or overspeed or something. Now I'm sort of thinking that the car is driving along, and the memory of how it used to be was, you know, how the person that owned the car before me drove, because I didn't know that you could reset the gearbox brain and drive the way you do it, and then it remembers that. So I shut the laptop down, turned the car off, had a brew, got back in, and put the throttle right down to the floor till it clicked. I think it was in the last clip. Waited, you know, half a minute or so, or a minute, and then turned the key off, let my foot off. So that actually worked. That actually reset the brain, because like I say, when you drove it after the initial clunk of going forward, it changed down through the gears so quick, so slowly, no, so quickly, so it had really low revs all the way. Now to me, that was putting more strain on the gearbox itself. But anyway, so now I tried to help the brain learn my style of driving, which isn't mad, but for the Caroline's is slightly faster than me, so I tried to replicate her driving. So I give it a bit of beans. That's when the crunchy noise is starting. So I was like, oh, you know. Anyway, long story short, I took it to the friends, as you know, and on the way home, I did the manual, binged it. All that horrible noises are all gone. It went through the gearbox smooth as silk. And now I'm just started the engine and warming it up. I'm just going over for a drive around the block, because I want to dump the oil out, and you need to warm your oil up first to get it all liquefied and warm, and drop it out. That way you get most of the sludge and contaminants that are sat on little shelves and things in there out the bottom. I've got new oil to go in it. Incidentally, that oil that is in there right now is long life oil, and I've had no issues with that. It's been pretty good, but it's well over, it's getting on for 10,000 miles. That's not me. I normally change my oil every 2,000 or 3,000 miles, just because you know, for maintenance purposes and longevity of the turbo and all the rest of it. So right, stop babbling, ET. So epilogue. I can't believe what I've done, to be honest. My hand was forced. That I normally take on silly projects. If you look back at the rest of my videos, some of the early motorcycles I've restored have been less than practical and complete dustbins, really, haven't they? The FZ50, the CD175, to name a couple, and the DeVille 650, to name 3, and all the rest of them pretty much. And I thought to myself, I've always said, if it's been put together, it can be taken apart. How hard can it be? If you are going to do this on your car, This is the 1.6 TDi Dual Select DSG DQ200 dry clutch gearbox. There are many variations. Make sure, if you're going to follow my my plight and try and do it yourself, you have to have good friends around you that have laptops and things. Sadly, my friends didn't have any of the tools that I didn't have, so I have had to fork out 30 quid for the clutch 3.5 kilo weight, which sets the clutch heights so you can shim it up. There are so many little things like that. So basically, I had the gear selector shaft broken in the gearbox. That could have, and I thought it had, damaged the mechatronic, because that's what usually happens, and the clutch was coming up to wear limit. So I had 3 things to cure, and I can safely say now we are 100% there. It is done. She's just sitting there at 800 revs a minute, just ticking over. Drives like a Rolls Royce. Caroline's even said, she's even been out to the shops and on her own. She's come back and she's like nearly in tears, and big cuddle. How the hell? She said it drives better than ever. There's no juddering. It used to judder in reverse, which is a sure sign of issues. So basically, yeah, I might be mad, but I had my hand forced because we haven't got money. We get by and we survive and we get our bills paid. We're not in debt, but some people are rich, but they're in debt, aren't they? So anyway, I digress. So I said my hand was forced. I was quite fortunate with some of the parts that friends gave me. Some of the expensive parts. I had to buy a couple of, I had to buy the seal kit for the mechatronic unit. I had to buy the oil, the green oil for the mechatronic. It's a special oil. You can't just put any hydraulic oil in there. It has to be this one particular thing because it can't conduct electricity at all. And that's 30 quid a litre, and I had to buy 2 eventually through spillages and whatnot. And the 2 litres of oil that goes into the gearbox, you know, it wasn't overly cheap, but like 20 quid, 25 quid, something like that. So all in all, if I'd have had to dug my... incidentally, Caroline's stepfather gave us £500 to repair, towards the cost of the repair. So all in all, I think it's cost, out of our pockets, about 200 quid, 250 quid, with obviously, so 750, your roundabouts. If I'd have had to pay for everything that was needed and has been required and has been consumed, you're looking at just over 1100 quid. So thank you to everybody, Eddie especially if you're watching, and everybody else that have sent well wishes, and you're mad. You're quite right too. Thank you most sincerely. That's it really, isn't it? I'm just going to pop up the road, get that oil nice and hot, and I can drop it out, and I'll report back if there are any nasties. I don't think there's going to be, because we've been out in the car literally all afternoon yesterday, and then give it a good valet when we got back in, because we are so happy. Caroline was like over the moon. I'm never confident in what I do. I know I've got the ability to do it, but afterwards I'm always worried that something's going to break down. It doesn't generally, but I'm a worrier. So anyway, enough of that said. Thank you for your comments. Please like and subscribe my videos for more stupidness and going above and beyond what the normal DIY Joe would do. But to take on the DSG dual dry clutch gearbox with 3 separate issues. I'm kind of glad my hand was forced, because I've done it, and I'm really happy I have done it. There were lots of downs. There were more downs than ups. Most of those were down to frustration and my rheumatoid arthritis and lupus and Sjogren's and depression and diabetes. Yeah, anyway, like I said, thank you guys for looking and watching and commenting and well wishes. Yes, I think that's a win, don't you? I'm going to chalk that one up as a definite win. I don't think it's sunk in yet that it works, because if your car has a fault, you know, you're looking at between $650 for someone to diagnose and or repair for the tiniest little thing on a mechatronic. It's at least $650. I think it's plus parts. Labour's in that $650, and you know, if you've got anything wrong, if you have to change the mechatronic unit or replace it, you're looking at $2,500 upwards. And to get the box out and change the fork and the clutch and do the mechatronic, you're looking at between $2,500, anything anywhere up to $4,500. And that scared the shit out of me, because I still owe 3 years HP on this car. There we go. Things happen for a reason, and luckily somebody up there was smiling down at me. You know, overall. Stop waffling easy. People are asleep. Wake up. Come on, wake up. Thanks for watching, guys. I'm going now. Catch you in the next one, which is the LDA2. I've done loads of things to that, but I don't think I've videoed any of it, because anyway, past its MOT. Right, cool. See you in a bit. Oh, VW. Right, just to wrap this video up, the final sort of whatever it is. What is that fucking noise? Bugger off. Anyway, what I failed to say is, when I put the car into gear and it made that clunking, what that was is the memory of the mechatronic thinking that it had the old thin worn out clutch in it, so it was still using those settings to on and off with the clutch. But obviously, when my brand new fat clutch, you know, brand new clutch has gone in there with the 2 thicker plates because it's new, it was clonking because it didn't realise the parameters of the hydraulic pistons. That's what the gearbox needs to learn. Thank you. I'll buzz off. So yeah, that was basically why it was clunking. That was I had to plug it into a laptop, a proper VCDS laptop or something like that, to select my particular vehicle, and then reset it back to basics on the computer side of things. But unfortunately I couldn't do that. So what I'm thinking was, where I took it out and gave it an Italian tune-up, putting it into manual, it just learned. It's because I reset it by putting the accelerator down to the kick down for 30 seconds and taking it off. That reset it. Unknowingly, I did something right, which is good. So yeah, after that Italian tune-up, it learned to behave itself, basically. So there we go. Right, I wanted to say a million things, and I really can't think of any of it now. I should have written it down, shouldn't I? Anyway, that was basically it. Yeah. Right, see you in whatever I'm doing next. It could be restoring a ZX Spectrum, it could be the Ariel A3, it could be the Audi A2, or it could even be me Suzuki Bergman 650. Who knows? Or I might just go and curl up in bed and have a darn good sleep. Well, like I say, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this little series, all the ups and downs, ins and outs. Yeah, Thanks for watching. Keep your chins up.